The second arc of the new Clone Wars season just finished, and I did a video on episode 5, and this one's covering 6 through 8. I feel a bit behind, but I'm just going to zoom through stuff that I liked and stuff that I didn't like. As a whole, I did enjoy this Ahsoka arc, and the main reason is because of Ahsoka. But at the same time, I also found it slightly underwhelming. Like I said, Ahsoka's great. It's cool to see her kind of, struggle to find her new self and also try and hide the fact that she is a Jedi with her new friends. It's also interesting to see her learn more about the war from a different perspective. Rafa and Trace have quite a tragic past that has to do with former events from back in season 1 or 2 of the Clone Wars. I'll jump into that in a little bit. But seeing Ahsoka react to hearing the other side of the story is interesting. And she kind of, now that she's not a Jedi anymore, she's kind of learning that they're not as perfect as she once thought. And she already figured that out with how everything ended with her in the Jedi Order. But now she's seeing it from other people's points of view. But as far as the story goes for this arc, I didn't find it all that interesting. I think it would have helped if I liked the sisters more. But honestly, I thought they were annoying for most of the arc. Well, Trace was the annoying one, and Rafa's just kind of a bitch. But I wasn't a huge fan of them. Hearing their backstory made them a lot more sympathetic, and they had moments where I did enjoy their characters, but overall I wasn't a huge fan of their addition into the show. I just kind of felt like they either bounced back from being okay to like, I hate these people. It was a weird back and forth. And I just would have liked to enjoy their characters more. That being said, they didn't ruin the arc by any means. They did give a cool insight, into what a lot of people are struggling with in this galaxy. And I really liked, as I mentioned before, I really liked their backstory as to why they aren't huge fans of the Jedi and, how they kind of ended up in the bad spot that they are in. And it's because back when Cad Bane broke out Zero the Hutt, there was a chase on Coruscant. There's collateral damage. A Jedi had to steer away from a heavy populated crowd. They crashed into some sort of building. And then you find out that the Jedi crashed the speeder right into the home of Rafa and Trace, and their parents were killed. The aftermath of that, Rafa was going through it, and she says that she describes Luminaria, and she basically says, hey, sorry, but I had to make a choice, and may the Force be with you. See you guys. And I can totally see why that would harm someone's reputation of the Jedi. In episode 6, I absolutely adored the scene of they're all flying away, right? And Trace is not the most experienced pilot, and she flies in a military lane, and it just happens to be a Republic cruiser that Anakin's on. One of the generals, general that you see quite a bit in the earlier seasons, but he's a lot older now, so that was cool. But Anakin senses her, and she senses him, and then he lets her go. It was very reminiscent of the scene in Return of the Jedi when it happens between Luke and Vader, and I just loved it. Something that annoyed me about episode 7 was they start and end in the exact same spot. So they open up the episode and they're captured. And then the episode ends and they're captured. They break out and, there's shenanigans, whatever. But narratively, that episode served no purpose. It helped flesh out the characters a little bit more. And that part was good, but it didn't push the story forward. And that was a little annoying, especially when, we only have 12 episodes in this season. I just wish I got a little bit more out of this arc. And that goes, for the whole arc. It is only 12 episodes this season, and to have 4 of them dedicated to this, I would say, enjoyable but underwhelming story, it's a little disappointing. But like I said, I did enjoy watching them. They planted the seeds at the end of episode 7 when you see the Mandalorians there. Bo-Katan, I don't remember the other one's name, but I guess I didn't watch Star Wars Rebels, but I guess it's Sabine's mom. And then there's a third one who I don't know who it is, but yeah, it was cool to see that. And then in the 8th one, we see that the Pikes are in cahoots with Darth Maul himself. Rafa and Trace pretend to leave to go pick up the spice. Well, I mean, they actually do, but whatever. One of the Pikes says, hey, you're getting duped, you big dumbass. And he's like, yeah. And then they mention, their boss. And he says, he knows, he always knows. And he just looks scared or upset. And I was like, he's talking about Maul, 100%. because I knew that Maul is going to be a big part of the Siege of Mandalore, and the Mandalorians are there. And why else would they be there unless they're, scouting something, blah, blah, blah. But it makes sense that they're there because Maul is in cahoots with the Pikes. And it's also cool to see how scared the Pikes are of him. They're grimy people and they're scary people, the Pikes are. They don't get intimidated by much. But, Maul's only in a few scenes, but you can tell his presence is felt. The Pikes are clearly terrified of Maul, and I just think that's a cool detail. But yeah, basically, the arc concludes with everything being okay. Rafa and Trace get out of it, and then the Mandalorians follow them back to Coruscant, and they catch up with Ahsoka, and they're like, hey, we have a common enemy. Maul sucks, and he's doing some bad stuff. We don't really know what the bad stuff is, so I'm sure we'll find out next week. But they're like, hey, come with us. And I like that Ahsoka's first reaction is she's very hesitant because she is afraid that if she goes and helps them, that it's going to lead her down the path of returning to the Jedi Order. And she's at odds with that. She's not okay with that. And I like that conflict there. And then it was a really nice way to end the arc by Rafa and Trace saying, hey, the Jedi let us down before, but you are what I expect them to be and what I want them to be. And this is who you are. This is what you need to do. And Ahsoka's like, yeah, you're right. So it was cool to see that growth from Rafa and Trace, realizing that not all Jedi, that they do come from a good place and that they're not as evil as they once thought. And it's cool for Ahsoka to realize, hey, these guys really screwed me over, they screwed you over, but this is just who I am. So I thought that was really nice. But yeah, this next arc, the Siege of Mandalore, is what I've been waiting for the entire season. I think there's going to be some really cool stuff here. We know there's going to be a big fight between Ahsoka and Maul. Pretty sure we're going to see Order 66. We're probably going to see Rex take his chip out. It's going to be crazy, and I'm so here for it. And I love, love, love Darth Maul, and I'm glad he's back. But yeah, overall, I did enjoy this arc. Found it slightly bit underwhelming, but that doesn't mean I still didn't have a good time with it. What did you guys think? Comment below, let me know. As always, like and subscribe, and yeah.